This is it. We have reached the turning point in the Bond video game history. The Commodore 64 era is over as it ended with The Spy Who Loved Me in 1990. The Domark era is not quite over just yet, as there is one final entry, but now is not the time for that. Enter a new publisher into the mix, Interplay Entertainment. Interplay originated in 1983 in Los Angeles, and they're still publishing and developing games today. They've had quite a bit of success over the years with franchises like Earthworm Jim, some Dungeons & Dragons based games like Baldur's Gate, Icewind Dale, and Planescape Torment, but most notably they are the original publishers of the first couple Fallout games, a highly successful franchise that was later shifted over to Bethesda Softworks. But there was one little forgotten British game released in 1990 called Operation Stealth, developed by Delphine Software International. It was a point-and-click style game in which you control secret agent John Glames traveling to South America to retrieve a stolen stealth plane. So, sort of like with the case of Live and Let Die originally being imagined as an entirely different game, they decided just to slap on the James Bond license and reword the game's American release to be a Bond game instead of a John Glames game. So that's exactly what they did and released it with the name James Bond 007 The Stealth Affair in America. I find it interesting that the character is James Bond in America, but John Glames in Britain, you know, the country where James Bond is from. Weird, wild stuff. At this point in the Bond franchise, there was little to nothing going on. There were attempts to make another Timothy Dalton film, but nothing would become of it, and there wouldn't be a film until 1995. They were coming off their least profitable film in the franchise with License to Kill, and interest in the franchise seemed to be at an all-time low. That's a Bond joke, since the theme song for Octopussy is called All Time High, and well, now I just had to explain the joke, so moving on. Domark published The Spy Who Loved Me in the same year that The Stealth Affair was released, so maybe this game will be a breath of fresh air. The era of the old-school computers were now out, and The Stealth Affair was released for only 3 different types of computers, the Amiga, Atari ST, and MS-DOS. It's really starting to feel like the tides are changing for computers and video gaming as a whole at this point. So let's check out the back of the box for the Amiga version. As British super agent James Bond, just back from holiday in Kuwait, you will find yourself plunged headlong into the world of international espionage, sent across the globe in an attempt to find the missing super-secret stealth bomber. The list of suspects include a Latin American dictator, the Russian KGB, and, possibly, organized crime. To be successful, you'll need to sift through puzzling clues, track down a host of nefarious villains, and untangle the threads of a worldwide conspiracy that threatens the safety of the globe, all while dodging assassins' bullets, bombs, and babes. James Bond, The Stealth Affair, features an improved version of the cinematique system pioneered in Future Wars Adventures in Time. This user-friendly system is entirely mouse-controlled and offers incredible ease of play, combined with an intriguing plot, superb music, and stunning graphics, which create an exotic blend of interactive suspense and heart-stopping action. Well, alright then. I can't say I have ever played Future Wars Adventures in Time, and I do not know what cinematique system is, but color me intrigued. And hey, this is the first, as this will be the first standalone original story that has nothing to do with an Ian Fleming book or Eon Productions film. So, there really are a ton of point-and-click style games, and they really became popular in the 90s, and are still being made today with games like Five Nights at Freddy's. What a point-and-click style game is you operate a mouse or a controller to move a cursor around on the screen and click on things that you see to either examine them or tell your character where to move. So I personally don't have too much experience with them, but I'm fairly familiar with the Clock Tower series, an honestly pretty scary point-and-click style horror series that I found to be a bit of fun. And I remember my brother used to play Deja Vu and Uninvited for the NES when I was a child. But I know the King's Quest series used to be pretty beloved, and there are seriously like 35 Nancy Drew games. So let's see how it works in the style of a James Bond game. It'll at least be something different than what we've been experiencing lately. So let's check out the Interplay Productions' only entry in the James Bond franchise. So, in a way, it already feels like a fan-made hack or something. It starts right in Washington, D.C., with Bond taking orders from the CIA director. Of course, this is because John Glames from the original version worked for the CIA, but they only changed his name here instead of Washington or the CIA. Not that it's a huge deal, but it gives sort of a cheap feel to it, I guess. They say that they requested the assistance of Her Majesty's government, so there is some explanation as to why Bond is there. There's kind of a funny joke with the director accidentally showing a picture of a scantily clad woman instead of blueprints. Bond is then directed to recover a stealth plane and is given a briefcase with a passport falsifier in it indirectly from Q. So, Bond arrives in Santa Paragua, and to my surprise, it sort of feels more like an updated version of the interactive fiction games of A View to a Kill or Goldfinger. You must pick your commands carefully, whether it be examining things, using, speaking, etc. It took me a little bit to get the hang of the controls, even though you only use a mouse. You right-click near Bond to bring up the menu, and then left-click to examine, use, or take whatever it is on the screen. But it took me some time to figure out that to examine or use something already in your inventory, you must right-click the command instead of left-click. It's something little, but it had me stuck for a few minutes and I had to look it up. Eventually, you sneak into the bathroom and use the passport falsifier to create a passport for Bond for the country that appeared on a newspaper you examined in the lobby. You trick the customs official and can then proceed through the airport. It's a lot of examining objects, using them, trying to figure out what goes where, and unlike the interactive fiction games of years past, you can actually see the things on the screen to get an idea of what you need to be doing next. But, as far as the briefcase goes, there is some spy stuff here, like uncovering secret compartments, figuring out that you need to actually make a passport for a specific country, and things like that. It does help to make it feel more like a Bond adventure in that regard. You then need to go to baggage claim in order to find and take Mr. Martinez's baggage to find a secret recording in his electric razor. Yeah, just go with it. You then have the baggage taken away by the customs officer, and then you gotta wait for their taxi outside, and that's the end of scene 1. It's a pretty decent, yet slow start for a game done in this style. At this point, I think it's safe to figure out if the game is for you or not to see if you want to continue. To be honest, I find the concept more intriguing than actually playing it. It would be kind of fun to have a small group of friends sit down and try to figure everything out, but once you get stuck on what to do or where to go next, the fun level can drop quite fast. With that said, the graphics are easily the best for a Bond game up to this point. It really does look like a Super Nintendo game, and it's cool to see how far they've come. The sound is also pretty great with some classic computer-age synth sounds. It doesn't play on every screen, and there's certainly no Bond theme since this wasn't originally a Bond game to begin with. Overall, I think it's neat to check out, even though I had a pretty rough time figuring out how to play this thing. I'm glad I did, and check it out if you have some interest in a spy point-and-click adventure. As far as the 3 different versions go, this is the first time where I honestly didn't notice any difference between the Amiga, Atari ST, or DOS versions. Maybe those in tune with graphics would be able to spot them more than I could, but they're all identical in my eyes. So hey, at least this game was something different. It's more like an updated sequel to the interactive fiction games than anything. It's not my most desired video game genre, but I can appreciate what they were going for. I'd rather play this over Live and Let Die any day. Yeah, I'm not going to let that go. But next up is yet an even weirder one than this. That's right, we won't even be playing as James Bond, but his nephew. There was a short-lived animated series in 1991 and 1992 called James Bond Jr., and I basically know nothing about it, so this will be interesting to do some research on. And they apparently made a video game about it. So, like with the Stealth Affair, it's questionable to consider that or James Bond Jr. official Bond games or not, but I decided to still cover them anyway. So thank you again for staying with me through this. If you haven't yet, please like and or subscribe to my channel to stay updated on future episodes, and check out all the other parts in this retrospective. I'm trying to get these out every Sunday, but I can't promise this will always work out. But any help getting this channel out there for Bond fans or retro gaming fans or anyone else who could have an interest in it is much appreciated. James Bond will return after his nephew gets the spotlight in James Bond Jr.